Nobody sleeps in a house with a dead man in the library, whatever the butler says about closing the door and waiting for morning. By midnight, the local constable had arrived. A heavy-set, unhurried man named Pruitt, who seemed more concerned with not tracking mud on Lord Calloway's carpets than with the murder itself. And by 1, he'd decided the household could be questioned in the morning and gone home to his own bed. Which left the rest of us alone with each other, and the thing in the library, and nobody pretending to sleep. I found the letter before Pruitt thought to look for it. It had fallen behind the writing desk, perhaps knocked loose in whatever struggle had taken place, and it matched the one beneath Edmund's hand. Same creamstock, same cramped, leaning hand pressing too hard into the paper. Stop what you're doing, or I'll make you stop. No signature, naturally. But the paper had a faint watermark, a stationer's mark I recognized because Marjorie had once given me a set of writing paper from the very same shop years ago as a wedding gift. It wasn't sold outside the city. Whoever had written it had either bought it locally and recently, or had owned it for years, which meant either a stranger with surprising resources or someone already inside this house. I started with Theo because his smile had always made me suspicious, and I wanted to know if that was instinct or prejudice. "I was in the billiard room," he said, when I caught him alone in the corridor near dawn. "When the lights went. Ask anyone." "I have. Nobody can vouch for you specifically. They only remember the dark and the noise." His borrowed smile flickered, just slightly, at the corners. "You always did enjoy interrogating people, Sarah. I remember that about you. Edmund used to complain about it." A pause, calculated to land. Maybe somebody finally got tired of being studied. It was an ugly thing to say, and he knew it, watching for the flinch. I didn't give him one. But I noted, the way I used to note things about Edmund, that his hands were perfectly still while he said it. Too still. The stillness of a man concentrating on not fidgeting, which is its own kind of tell. Lucinda was easier, because Lucinda had never learned to lie convincingly. She'd only learned to lie often, which is a different skill entirely. "I was on the terrace," she told me, swirling a brandy she'd helped herself to before breakfast. "Getting air. This house suffocates me." The terrace doors were locked from the inside, Lucinda. The butler checked them himself after the lights came back, because he was worried about an intruder. She went very still, the brandy glass halting halfway to her mouth. "I meant the conservatory. I misspoke." "You didn't misspeak. You picked the terrace because you thought no one would check the doors." I kept my voice gentle, because cornered people say truer things when they don't feel cornered. "What were you actually doing, Lucinda?" It came out of her in a rush, the way confessions do when someone's been holding them too long. She'd been in Lord Calloway's study, not the terrace, not the conservatory, searching his desk for the new will, because she owed money to people who didn't accept apologies as payment, and she needed to know if she'd been written out of it before she decided how desperate she was willing to become. She hadn't found it. She hadn't gone near the library. She hadn't, she swore, touched Edmund. I believed the last part. People lying about murder rarely sound as relieved as Lucinda did admitting to mere theft. "You have to tell Pruitt," I said, "and let everyone know I'm finished, that I was rifling through an old man's desk like a common thief." Her laugh was thin and humiliated. "I'd rather they thought me a murderer than that pathetic." But she would tell him, eventually. I could see that decided in her face, the particular exhaustion of someone too tired to keep performing. Which meant Lucinda's lie, ugly and small and entirely about money, wasn't the lie I actually needed. It cleared the terrace. It cleared the conservatory. It put her in the study at the exact wrong moment to have killed her cousin in the library. Which meant whoever had written, "I told you, I'd stop you on stationery from a shop only this family would have kept," all these years was still sitting at breakfast with the rest of us, waiting to see what I'd noticed, and I was beginning to suspect they already knew that I'd noticed something, because Theo's hands had been too still, and stillness, in my experience, is what guilty people practice.